Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Wednesday, the 8th of May. Reading through the book of Isaiah the prophet, we read chapter 6, which begins with a glorious vision of God. Isaiah writes, "In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord, high and exalted, seated on a throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple." And he has this image he has of God. It's not that God is in the temple. It appears that God's outside the temple. The temple, this magnificent structure, this one of the biggest buildings of the age, was too small for God. The train of his robe, the hem of his garment filled it up. So God is that mighty. And he sees the angels around God, and his response would be the response we all have if we were to come before a holy God. "Woe is me," I cried, "I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips. And my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty." And so he is overwhelmed and confronted with his sinfulness and uncleanness in front of a holy God. And that's always the case. Anyone that sees the holiness of God will immediately be aware of their unholiness and their need for forgiveness. And he falls down, and an angel comes and takes coals from the altar and touches his lips and says, "You've been cleansed." And in verse 8 he says, "Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, 'Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?' And I said, 'Here am I, send me.' And he said, 'Go and tell this people, be ever hearing but never understanding, be ever seeing but never perceiving.'" And as I read that, I thought, this is sort of standard fare. When people have an experience of God, have an encounter with God, God doesn't appear to people and give them visions of his glory and then say, "Okay, now just get on with your life." Every time he appears in glory to people, they're called to something new. Every time people can see angels, it's part of a call to something more, something different. Happened to Isaiah, and it will happen to us. If we come to catch a glimpse of God, we'll always be sent with some message to go and do something. And the message Isaiah was given was a message of judgment. Go and tell this people, you've lost sight of God. And to call them to repentance. And as we read through the rest of his book, we see this so clearly. And I believe that as Christians in South Africa today, as we're heading for an election, we've had some glimpse of God. Not the kind of vision that Isaiah had, but we've seen God, and we understand from scriptures of who God is and what his standards are. And his compassion and his concern for the widows and the orphans, for the marginalized and the oppressed. That he's come to set the prisoners free. He's come to bring this justice to the world. And as Christians, we need to be looking at this election time and saying to the people who are standing for election, this is what we are looking for. We're not looking that you're going to give us more money. We're not looking that you're going to give me better roads. I'm looking for whether you're going to be giving justice, whether you're going to be looking after the widows and orphans, etc. And we need to be holding people to account afterwards as well. So as we head for the elections, be encouraged. As Christians, we recognize we have a call. We've caught a glimpse of God, and we have a call to be prophets in the land. To say, God calls us to more. Not easy, but that's what we do. So be challenged and know that as we walk with God, we're strengthened and we are blessed.